Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing, people? And in today's video, we are doing my FPL 2020 to 21 to 22 hidden gems. And I'm also going to be talking about, on this FPL Yellow Army channel, my budget options for this season. So I'm going to announce later on in the video my new league code. That's right. As part of the FPL Yellow Army channel and as part of a subscriber, make sure you subscribed first, but you can join a mini league that I'll be setting up for my subscribers. So go into the Fantasy Premier League game, register your team, and do make sure to join into that mini league. And anyone else you know who loves fantasy and wants to have a go in the league, then share the code. I will reveal that at the end. But let's get into my starting point in this video, which is going to be generally talking about some hidden gems for this season. But without further ado, we're going to talk about the man in the middle there, and it is Raheem Sterling. He is my first one that I'm going to talk about. He's at 3.1% ownership, I do believe, and he's one of the players, obviously, at a high price. He's not necessarily one who's hidden, but certainly for last season, his form was very, very poor, and obviously in the Euros, he was one of the standout players, and I think he will just go under the radar, because at the end of the day, he didn't have a good season in the 2020 to 21 season, and at the end of the day, most people will be going for De Bruyne for that game week 2 fixture against Norwich, and Sterling from the off could be a really nice little upset to go for. And basically, yeah, I'm just feeling that with those fixtures, Tottenham, Norwich, Arsenal, Leicester, Southampton, obviously they're not ideal. The Norwich game is where you want to own him, but with Sterling, he might just go under the radar because he's got this reputation for being wasteful, and he's actually a cheap alternative to someone like Kevin De Bruyne. But as we saw in the Euros, he can really be in form. Now, looking at last season, obviously it wasn't the most ideal season for him. 31 games played, 10 goals and 9 assists in that time. But at the end of the day, he is that differential that I've talked about, and also he is a big game player. On any given day, he can score a hat-trick, like he did in his days in the 18-19 season, and especially in the 19-20 season, opening day against West Ham, of course. But I do think Sterling certainly is a decent option, a big game player, you could say. After his heroics for England against Tottenham, he could do something. And I just think he's one that's going along under a lot of people's noses because of that wasteful record. Obviously, we don't know about Pep. This is the risk with this. We're a bit apprehensive about Pep's roulette, but at the end of the day, it's worth it because of the risk that comes with it. So if you are willing to go with the De Bruyne, okay, having De Bruyne will get you points, but it won't get you points every week if everyone's captaining Kevin De Bruyne. But if you're going out with Sterling and saying, okay, I'll take the hit of 1 week he might not, get a return, but then the next week he does, and you go and captain him that week he does return, then that is a massive green arrow and a massive gain on other players that will be playing against you with similar players, similar teams, and actually you're going to rise in rank. So he's certainly not a bad FPL option. Obviously, he has had better seasons, but if you look across the last 6 seasons, he's been very, very consistent in terms of his points tally. It's just that last season was so disappointing that it's put a lot of people off. But we can't base all our stats and all our ideas around last season because it was a very unique season for so many ways. No crowd, and at the end of the day, a lot of disruptions. And Sterling didn't play every week, but maybe that was an injury thing. Maybe that was just Pep Guardiola kind of shuffling his cards once again. If he's happy with the team and he's got the likes of Jack Grealish in the side or maybe Phil Foden, Sterling could be, if he gets on to a good start, one of those premium players that we just don't want to take out of our teams. So I think it does leave us with a lot of questions, this transfer suggestion. But I think in terms of hidden gems, you're not going to get many people dismissing an 11 million midfielder. And for that reason, he could be a really, really nice little advantage in terms of who you're going to pick for those premiums. And as we mentioned, that Norwich fixture, it looks like we want to own someone for that Norwich fixture. And if you can't fit in, your Fernandes and your Salah, and then you go for someone like Jadon Sancho, then Raheem Sterling's even cheaper to actually negate that owning of more premiums at one time. We're going to move on to our next player that's not on the graphic, but it's actually Alexander Zinchenko. Now, in the Euros, he was very attacking for Ukraine. I think he is one that has once again gone under the radar. 2.2% ownership at 5.5 million. He's a decent option because we feel like he's going to play. We don't think Man City will sign another left back, but certainly Benjamin Mendy is out of favour. Had a lot of injuries, but looking at last season, obviously 20 games played. Now that will be obviously I think a bit higher this season because they're not going to necessarily rotate as much. And obviously on the left hand side, Zinchenko you'd think, and on the right hand side Kyle Walker. But at the end of the day, this Man City team is flexible, so you could even see a back three in there with a right-sided centre-back Kyle Walker, and that means Zinchenko could push further up, like we saw him in the Euros with Ukraine and scored a really good goal in that one. So there's attacking potential there. We've not seen it yet, but from 20 games, 8 clean sheets, he's a really cheap way into that Manchester City defence, which of course we know does get lots of clean sheets most seasons. So he's a bit of a wild card. The next one is Bertrand Traore. Now, this guy had a great season, his debut season with Aston Villa. Obviously, did have a lot of injury troubles and wasn't a complete regular in the team. But that's why these hidden gems do come with a risk, because they're not those nailed-on players that you call on every week. But you've got to say, he's ended the season really impressively, Bertrand Traore, and even scoring in the harder fixtures, as you can see that Aston Villa will go on to have there. Chelsea, Everton, Man United and Tottenham from game weeks 4 to 7. So I think he's a nice enabler at 6 million. You could go for Ismail Assar at that same price, and ultimately I think one of the best options we can go for in terms of budget options is Jack Harrison, because that Leeds team is so attacking. He's re-signed a contract with them, and he's a really good, little differential compared to someone like Rafinha, who everyone's going to own. And at the end of the day, Traore just fits into that mould. Now, obviously with Aston Villa, we'll see if it's second season syndrome. I think they will have another strong season because they've recruited well and they've strengthened well. And at the end of the day, Traore is just a very good attacking talent. So I think he's a nice one to invest in, but it's just that surety of starts. With them bringing in Leon Bailey and also now getting in Buendia, I just feel like that is going to be such a competitive lineup. But let's see how much Traore gets in terms of minutes. But he certainly is one to go under the radar for me. 36 games last season. As I said, 7 goals, 7 assists. Could be a really nice one at just 2.1% ownership. And yeah, obviously the fixtures to start off with are really nice. So if Villa do look to rotate, then this guy could really be in with a shout of featuring. Let's move on then to a forward option as one of these, bargain options who are kind of hidden gems really. Now, this guy is more of a long-term season advice, because right now we know that he is currently holding an injury, and that is Danny Welbeck. At 1.9% ownership, I think that will go up if he does get back into fitness, because it's a shame really. When you look at Brighton's fixtures to start the season, Burnley, Watford, Everton, Brentford, you don't really get much better fixtures than that to start a season, and he's a cheap 6 million forward. And in just 24 games last season, 6 goals, 4 assists. So he certainly is an attacking threat when he's on the pitch and when he's fully fit. But I just feel like with Welbeck, there are a few other options at that 6.5 bracket. You've got someone like Ivan Toney. Heck, even someone like really out of the usual kind of structure, someone like Alan St-Maximin. But at the end of the day, Welbeck is certainly one that, when he's got good fixtures, can deliver. So keep an eye on him. But obviously right now, he needs to be back fully fit. And then the next one we've got is Ait Nouri. Now this guy is the guy that a lot of people have said he's going to be the next hidden gem. He's going to be that cheap defender that can get points. But be wary about Ryan Ait Nouri, because we don't know that he's nailed on to play every single week. And alright, he's at 4.5. There's not much risk with owning him, but if he's going to be one of your starters, there is much risk, because he is going to be in and out of that Wolves team. We don't know how forward he's going to play. Obviously, in pre-season, he's playing a lot on the left wing, which is amazing for FPL options. But we don't know he's going to play. He's not a sure starter. And even Wolves last season were very leaky defensively. So let's see how they start off. They've got a very difficult run to kind of test that defence with Leicester, Tottenham, Man United, Watford. But at the end of the day, he's got that attacking threat. We saw it last season with 1 goal, 1 assist in 21 games. He didn't get enough minutes, but I certainly think with more minutes, if that is what Bruno Lager does allow, he could be a great little gem to kind of go in on and find out for. The next few options we're going to talk about, though, are basically the rest of the hidden gems, and I'm going to talk about Ben White because I think that a lot of people will be shying away from it. Alright, those opening fixtures are a mixed bag, but if you just look at that Brentford game, Brentford are going into this an unknown quantity. We don't know how many goals they'll score. Ivan Toney's going to be a good option, but, you know, Ben White, does he start that first game? Well, you'd think probably. He's the guy that's been brought in to be their second starting centre-back. He's so good, a ball-playing defender, exactly what Arsenal needed. Obviously, the goal threat there isn't that high, but you're getting him because of the price, 4.5, a bit like Wesley Fofana. You're getting him because of the fixtures to start the season with clean sheets. Now, how confident you are of an Arsenal clean sheet is, you know, up for debate. But I do think that, you know, in that defence, it's a cheap way of getting into the Arsenal team. And with those fixtures, Norwich and Burnley as well, I think that is a decent one to maybe hold on the bench and just think about, because I think Ben White is a, you know, really good defender. Whether that Arsenal defence will be shaken up, but I do think that he can come in there and kind of steer them to a bit more solidity. So we're going to move on to some more, instead of just hidden gems in general, some cheap players, but also some players that could qualify as hidden gems. And Dele Alli is one of them. Now, on the game, he's actually called Bamidele Ali, but yeah, it's Bamidele basically. He's at 6.0, I think, or maybe 6.5. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about it because he didn't get a lot of minutes last season, but he certainly is attacking. If we see Nuno start to favour him in that midfield, then he could go back to that kind of really attacking midfield spot that he showed in the 15-16 season and in the 16-17 season. But how much minutes he'll get, I'm not sure. And I think that, you know, Tottenham to start the season, Man City is tough. But, you know, look at match week 3. Obviously, Watford are going to go for that game, but Tottenham are at home. You'd fancy them. And then, of course, later on, Spurs have some nice fixtures too. So he's a bit of a differential, but I would wait and see with Dele Alli. I'm not sure you can necessarily take the plunge straight away. And to end the video, we're going to talk about some other good budget options. Now, at 4.5 million, I think that Billy Gilmour is a nice little steal, but you've got to think about the fixtures, and to start the season, they are dreadful for Norwich. I do think there's a chance he takes some set pieces. Now, in pre-season, we have seen actually a few from Billy Gilmour on corners, but actually maybe someone like Kieran Dow, who's been on set pieces last season for Norwich, could take those away from him. But just watch and be really, you know, careful about Billy Gilmour, because once those fixtures turn in match day 4 and 5, you know, you're talking about some really nice games for Norwich to, you know, have a big go at. And at the end of the day, I think that, you know, Billy Gilmour is a player who tried to shine at Chelsea, hasn't got that opportunity, but he could be like a big fish in a small pond at Norwich City. So he can be one that has a bit of attacking potential if he's given the minutes and the licence to roam forward. So watch out for him. But just to end up, we've got the final two options. Jack Harrison, as we mentioned before, I think at 6 million, he's a nice little steal that will go under the radar, and mainly because a lot of people are fancying a bit of Rafinha. And, you know, to start the season, obviously Leeds fixtures aren't perfect, but, you know, at the end of the day, they're the best they could be, really, when you consider how Leeds are going forward, and they're so attacking. That Man United game, I haven't even got many worries about, you know, Jack Harrison. He's scored against the big teams before, and of course that opening day game against Liverpool, 4-3, you know, thriller bonanza of an opening day fixture. And Jack Harrison is maybe just at this point in his time at the pinnacle of his Leeds career, because, all right, Rafinha can go on to a bigger club, but you feel like Harrison's very loyal to this Leeds team, and he is a big part of the way they play. So I think at a decent ownership, all right, he's not the most differential you'll ever get, because obviously Leeds fixtures aren't amazing, but also they're so attacking. So he's a good option, but I just think that, you know, someone looking at like Emil Smith-Rowe and Ismail Assar, Rafinha, and of course, as we just mentioned, Adama Traore, Bertrand Traore, sorry, they're all good options. But I think that with Jack Harrison, he's the one that's maybe taking a back burner because of how well Rafinha did. So he certainly shouldn't be ignored. And then to finish off the video, we've got the defensive option of Ibrahima Konate. Now this guy is absolutely unbelievable in terms of defensive solidity. And as I mentioned with Ben White, this is another good way to get into a cheap and, you know, fairly solid defence in Liverpool. Now, to start the season, Norwich, really nice, Burnley, and then, of course, match week 3, Chelsea, but you can bench him then. And Ibrahim Konate, you'd imagine he starts the season. There's been a lot of debate about whether Van Dijk will be back fit. We think he might be. Joe Gomez as well is trying to recover. Now, let's see how it kind of goes on, because Liverpool have a lot of centre-backs, Joel Matip, Konate as well, and we don't know who's going to play. But, as I said, the newcomer looks a really good player, and I think that he could be a really nice option at that price point for a bargain player. So that is where we're going to finish things, people. I hope you have enjoyed my little graphics with the fixtures there for the 3 players, and also discussing some other players. But just to wrap up, in terms of what I've kind of touched on already, I think my favourite in terms of the hidden gems that I've kind of discussed in this video, I think it has to go to Bertrand Traore, because a lot of people are going to talk about Emi Buendia, and of course we'll see if Jack Grealish stays, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think Traore does go down the pecking order with Bailly coming in, but I think he's still a very good option. And I'd say that my favourite budget option, it's just got to be Ben White. I think that, you know, that Arsenal team is not going to be solid every week, but he certainly is going to be strong, coming in and being ambitious in a new club. So I hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video and comment down below if you think I've missed any good, really hidden gems that a lot of people aren't talking about. They don't have to be, you know, really cheap players, as we saw with Raheem Sterling, but players that just going amiss and you would want to put in your team to have that differential twist to it. And then, of course, yeah, comment down below who your best budget options are, other than the ones I've touched on. But thanks for watching this one. It's been fun, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.